All right, we're rolling.
Good morning.
Good morning. Here we are at 2019 Autumn Oaks, Steve. And this is kind of the first time that you and I have sat down face-to-face in all the episodes we've done.
Yeah, I'm thinking, where is my laptop so I can message Chris to tell him I'd like to jump in the conversation.
Yeah, I hear you. So it's been this is actually Saturday, so we'll be winding it up today.
Yeah, it's gone really fast this year, it seems to me. I got a little later start from driving up from Florida, and it was a long day on Thursday. Didn't get in here till about 5 o'clock. And, and then yesterday just went, too fast.
Right.
But, people wait all year long for this thing, and the 3 days are gone.
I don't think anybody understands, unless you've been here and seen it and experienced it and built those relationships here. I mean, this is the trade show for houndsmen.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, as you go through these vendor barns here and you look at the quality of the booths, in a former life I was in a sales and marketing job and attended a lot of conventions and all, and big trade shows, places like McCormick Place in Chicago, those kind of venues. And, of course, it's certainly not that large, or I think probably the SHOT Show, which I've never attended personally. But, this is a first-class trade show for hound people. I'm looking across the way over here at the banners for Bright Eyes Lights, Dogtra. The UKC have their logo
We've got sitting right next to Garmin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Valley Creek's across the way, and as you get out on the grounds, there are more vendors out there. And what I've noticed in all the years that I've been coming to events, it seems like that the vendors are upping it a notch on their presentations and different things. NRA convention is a huge show, and everything is how it's presented there, and it kind of draws you in. But everywhere you go, you can talk to somebody.
Oh, absolutely. And, over the years, having been involved with these coon dogs, you just see so many people that you don't see all year, and it is that reunion atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I was thinking just this morning, one of the things that's really changed about Autumn Oaks is the golf cart vendor.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, you just had to walk all over the grounds, and down through the camping areas and the dog barns and all that if you wanted to see things.
Well, remember when it first came back here and the only thing that was here was the main building.
Exactly.
Everything operated out of there. They had all these big oak trees out here to the south.
Yeah. Well, looking back on all that, there was that one major area which now houses the kitchen, as it did then on one end.
Yep.
But then there was a stage on the other end, and rows of tables, and everything was done in that building. We called the cast from there. People went in there to get a meal, sit down and talk, and all the conversation. They hold the bingo in the evening, and a live band from time to time.
Sure.
And then I remember the evolution of that. While I was with UKC, we decided to do this breeder showcase area.
Right.
And we put circus tents, outside of that building. And had some breeder booths in there.
Where were they showing at that time?
And believe it or not, right here in this building, just from that's going to be to the south.
The wildlife or
right
livestock.
where timber, where Bob Osborne's vendor area is there.
Right.
Used to be the
That's
show.
right. That's right. The livestock arena, and they had the bleachers set up on both sides.
Yeah. It was an open-sided barn.
Right.
Type thing, and of course you had to contend with the barking of the dogs that were being housed, right nearby.
Right.
So, calling the show or announcing the show and the classes and all, you had that constant dog barking in the background type thing. But then a local RV dealer here in Richmond, Tom Raper, huge RV dealer, built this big. It's called the Raper Center. I guess for indoor shows, for mobile home or RV shows.
Right.
And now that just opened the whole deal up. Now they
Air
got
conditioned.
all their air conditioned. They got the show rings there.
PA.
Yeah, PA system.
It's a top shelf. It's a top shelf convention that it's a top shelf convention center now that Tom Raper uses for his business. And the RV industry, this is like the hotbed, just a little bit north central of here, up towards South Bend and stuff is.
Sure.
I mean, huge industry in the RV industry where they manufacture the RVs.
Well, the guys, we had Alan Gingrich on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he's done a great job along with the other officials at UKC in continuing to grow this event, and it really is a special deal. I was going to say over there in that Raper Center, there's also all the breed association booths.
Yep.
And they've all really stepped up their acts, with their awning canopies and their displays. And I was over at the plot booth yesterday and looked, and of course there's a couple of ladies on the board of directors now, and you can really see their touch and all the decorations and everything.
Yeah, Becky Church and
Becky Church and LaDonna.
LaDonna Taylor.
Yeah, and but I was in the golf cart I mentioned earlier this morning. I had to run over to my truck and pick up something and come back to our booth, and I was just thinking about as I came down the aisles and stuff and looking around, and I thought this is where I feel the most. Where I feel like I'm where I belong, and I think all these people, if they would stop and think about it, they probably feel that too.
And we're set up here in the main vendor barn, and Jason Doobie from W came out here and is unselfishly giving us his time and working in the booth and stuff. But that's what we were talking about as we stand back and we watch the people that you interact with. You can tell they're your people, Steve.
Well,
your type of crowd, and you relate with them very well. And there's been very few people in the sport, in the history of the sport, that had that ability to do that. So,
well, I appreciate that, Chris, but it was just a natural affection for me,
Yeah.
Well, as a kid, I grew up, the idea of getting to go to a UKC hunt was huge.
Right.
And I can remember my dad, before I could drive, taking me up to eastern Ohio. There was a hunt at Barlow called the Southeastern Ohio Championship, and they draw over 100 dogs. And I got to go there, even before I could drive and actually hunt a dog in the event. In fact, that's the first trophy I ever won. I won 6th place one time with a plot, and it was like a foot-tall trophy.
Absolutely.
And it was like winning the World Hunt.
Right.
I'm sure I polished all the shine off that thing all the way home,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I can remember my first one. It was I actually had a dog in a grade hunt, and I think I placed 3rd. Back in the days of a grade hunt, and you just feel like you're walking on cloud 9. So there's a lot of history here. And you kind of hear the buzz behind us because the vendor barn is really packed right now.
Right.
It's going to get busier because we're on Saturday now. So.
Today should be the biggest day crowd-wise. People kind of use this thing as a time to gear up for the fall.
Right.
And I think that's probably one of the things that we overlook in this sport. You think, well, maybe the entry numbers at the events are not what they used to be. Maybe you don't have those 100-dog local hunts or 50-dog local hunts. But there's a lot of coon hunters in the country. And they're here, I spoke with a couple yesterday from Utah that drove 1,800 miles out here.
Yeah. And Jason Doobie came from Oregon.
Yeah, exactly.
So, of course, he's here to work, but he's already stated that even if he has to take vacation time to be here next year, he's coming from Washington, and we've got commitments right now, loose commitments from several houndsmen in the West that want to come and be
I
in the
hope
booth
we
with
can
us.
continue to encourage them to do that, because they are going to love this event. If they love hounds, whether they have registered hounds or not, that doesn't matter. In fact, I just came by a booth out here. A guy was displaying some crossbred UKC registered puppies. They looked like black and tans. Apparently, they were crossed with another breed, which you can now register,
Right.
through the UKC. So, well, if you walk along this aisleway here where we are, and then there's another barn just like the one we're in, right
To the east,
yeah. You walk
Immediately.
along, you see a light vendor. For instance, Bright Eyes over there, mentioned them before. Ray Conrad told me, he'll sell out probably. In fact, I think he's close to sold out of lights already.
Yeah.
And he brings probably 400 or 500 lights with him. I don't know exactly how many, but if you're looking across the way over there, his tables are almost clear.
Yeah, his table was packed the other day when we got here.
Exactly.
This thing, a couple weeks ago, we did a podcast with Sid Underwood.
Right.
And we talked about a rendezvous.
Mm-hmm.
The old fur trappers, Jedediah Smith, Golden Age of Fur Trapping Rendezvous, Mountain Man Rendezvous. And this is the closest thing in existence right now to that. Because when you walk around here, there's campers set up. People are stopping by. They're visiting. They're talking about their hunting seasons. They're gearing up, like you said. And that was the purpose of the old Fur Trappers Rendezvous, is to get together and share stories and gear up for the upcoming hunting season. So,
and there's a whole additional aspect to Autumn Oaks, that if you stay around the campgrounds and the vendor barns and the dog barns and all that, and that's one thing that's changed. I mentioned the dog barn. It used to be a lot of people brought dogs and housed them in these barns. You don't see that much anymore. People keep their dogs close. They keep them at their campsites. They keep them in their vehicles, whatever. But if you go over there to that Raper Center, you're going to see a whole different aspect of the coonhound sport, and that's the show aspect.
Right.
In fact, UKC, again, I'll give them a heads up or a shout out for doing this dual class. Now they have on Thursday night, they have a hunt for dogs that have earned both a night title and a show title.
Right.
And then they have to, I think, win their cast with plus points to be eligible to show the next day.
Right.
And then, so it's picking the dual purpose dog. But the show aspect of Autumn Oaks, it's the world's largest coonhound bench show.
Yeah.
They've got several rings going over there right now as we're talking.
Right.
And a couple of different judges, and they're, it's
a big
whole
deal.
different deal.
You've got grooming stands over there.
Yeah.
Stuff that when back in the day, guys were standing their dog on the tailgate and wiping them down.
Yeah.
Now they've got grooming stands, and it's big time stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just something that everybody can.
That's funny. It just kind of reminds me of the evolution of that sport. It was back in the old days, and I guess the fox hunters did this too. He'd say, well, we got to run, we got a trial tonight, we're going to run, but my dog, I think my dog's better looking than your dog. And he said, well, throw that bale of hay out there and stack him up there on that bale of hay.
Right.
And let's look. And then maybe the evolution was, and I think it really was, to put up some cinder blocks and lay a 2x6 or a 2x12 or something.
And then you line plywood up.
Yeah.
And then I remember show benches like that where it was one continuous. Now you've actually got people here selling show benches to people.
The collapsible, individual bench. The old deal was, you got someone like to show them with the head in the left hand and someone in the right. Well, you can stack it up and you can move around your dog any way you want.
Absolutely.
And that's a different people that are used to the conformation or all breed shows like you watch on TV at Westminster. It's all on the ground. Well, the coonhound shows, the traditional bench still is part of the show.
Yeah.
But it's evolved a lot more to the gating and all, and very much like a conformation ring you'd see it with the AKC, but the benches are still there,
Right.
That's a part of it that I always enjoy watching, but usually now with, of course, since we're podcasting and working with CNH Publishing in their booth, it's I don't have time for that anymore, and I kind of miss it, But
Well, you ought to take some time and run over there this morning.
well, I probably will. I'll go by just to say hello.
One of the things I've noticed, Steve, is you walk around the grounds here. Every dog, I haven't walked past a dog yet that is without water or unattended.
Oh yeah.
That is a big, has always been a big contentious thing for the reputation of houndsmen, is that they don't take care of their hounds. I see that all the time on social media. And as you walk around here, somebody is, like you said, they keep their dogs close, but the dogs have got water, they're shaded.
Exactly.
I even saw one, so a dog didn't have to lay on the ground, somebody took shavings and spread it out on the ground.
Sure.
And
sure. Well,
so any misconception anybody has that these dogs are just staked out and abandoned, that's just an out and out lie.
Well, exactly. And people that keep Fluffy Dog in the house, the companion dog, to them the idea of tethering a dog is a foreign thing,
Right.
But if that dog is on a tether and the ability to move around and out in the fresh air and these portable canopies that are so easy to find nowadays, and that's what you see the way these dogs are, and they're able to be out there around and see the other dogs and interact with everything that's going on. It's great for the dogs because it socializes them. Makes good citizens out of it. I mean, there's so many benefits that people that really don't understand the hunting dog, probably don't get it.
Right. I mean, there's dogs tied up out here under canopies with fans on them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal. Well, the hunt aspect of this Autumn Oaks has always been one of the most prestigious events in the country to win, and it's always been, I guess, from the very start, the hunt to award the top dogs with the highest titles, which is Grand Night Champion in UKC. I know the first Autumn Oaks was in 1960 in Greencastle, Indiana, and it was won by a dog named Pioneer Drum that happened to be from the breed that I like, the Plot dog. But at that point, there was no Grand Night Champion degree. It was a Night Champion was the highest that you could attain. And then later on, the UKC decided to let these Night Champions hunt against each other and develop the Grand Night degree. So to cut to the chase, the Autumn Oaks has always been a hunt that awarded the National Grand Night Champion,
right?
Which was meaning you have the bragging rights to having the best of the best.
Yeah, it predated the UKC World Championship.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so to come here and win that was very prestigious. And
Absolutely.
And several people from back in those days, the hunters from those days recognized the accomplishment of being the top dog here at Autumn Oaks.
My friend Lee Kearns, who I hope we'll have on the podcast before long. Lee is now, I don't know, he probably wouldn't appreciate me saying that, but I'd say he's getting close to being an octogenarian, if I can use that big two-cylinder word.
That is a two-cylinder word.
That's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I think he's like close to 80 years old.
Okay.
And
is that Latin? What is that?
I don't know. It's a buzzword, But anyway, Lee remembers the days of coming to Autumn Oaks, riding in a car. And this, I know the people out there, they're going to just go insane when I say this, with the dogs riding in the trunk of the car.
Right.
and which I can remember my father hauling dogs that way too. Of course, the air gets through there. It's
Sure.
not like they're hermetically sealed and,
That's
vacuum packed.
That's two big
Man,
big
I'm
words.
on a roll today.
Yeah, you are. Yep.
Golly. But anyway, Lee, the story is of sleeping under a tarp in the bed of a pickup truck or in a pup tent, and bringing their dogs, and running, and that was in the early '60s. And now to see what things have become.
The first time I came to Autumn Oaks, we were right here at Richmond, and I drove probably a 1987 Ford Ranger, and had my dog box in it, and I was hunting a dog named Sugar Creek Joe at the time. He was a treeing walker, and it's when all the oak trees were still out there, and I actually took a tarp and spread it, put it underneath the front hood, and angled it down, and that's where I slept when I got back.
I got you. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I was
Bivouacked right there.
Yeah. I was fresh out of the Marine Corps, so it wasn't anything. Didn't mind sleeping on the ground in those days, but it kind of reminded me of the stories that John Wick would tell about going to hunts and sleeping in the truck or sleeping on the ground under the truck.
We all went through that. I think we were talking the other day about my high school buddy Chuck. Rest his soul. He died much too early, but we would go to hunts up and down the Ohio Valley within 100 miles of home. When we got our license, as we said,
Yeah.
He had an old Plymouth Barracuda, we called them, Barracuda, with that glass hatchback. We put the dogs in there. We'd pull up to a hunt. We'd get out our old pup tent, stake that thing out, stake the dogs out. But then I can remember, looking at some of these guys that actually had pickups, and they had magnetic signs on the doors. Mm-hmm. And this one fellow I remember very well, and listeners will probably remember him, named Henry Hitt. And he was from up around, Elkhart, Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
But he was originally from West Virginia, but he was that kind of guy. He had the magnetic signs, and his Cherry River treeing walkers, and these beautiful tricolored hounds and all that. And I was joking, we're over there doing this. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
Yeah. Now you see guys rolling through here in, vinyl wrap trucks.
Oh, yeah.
Where they put the whole vinyl wrap of their kennel logos and stuff on the side of their trucks. So
sure.
Definitely a lot of tradition and things going on here.
Well, and you drive around the town here, Richmond. Richmond's a bustling little town here right on Interstate 70, just practically on the Ohio line here in eastern Indiana. And you see all the marquees of the motels and the restaurants welcome coon hunters.
Right.
I walk in the Holiday Inn where we're staying this weekend, and right there is UKC Autumn Oaks. We mark, right as you walk in the door. So the town realizes the economic impact of an event like this, and it's huge. I used to know the numbers back in the day.
It used to be around $12 million.
Yeah, it's
weekend.
several $1 million, really, because you factor in all of the motel rooms, the gas.
Restaurants are packed.
Restaurants, you go in any restaurant this weekend in this town, it's going to be filled with hunters.
Yep.
The T-shirts and the caps.
The hats, tell them.
I walked into the steakhouse we went last night. A couple of guys in civilian clothes came out and recognized my Houndsman T-shirt, or at least that identified me as a hunter, and said, "Oh, how's the hunt going out there this weekend?" Right. And I said, "You guys, it's great. You guys coming out?" "Oh no, but we're glad you guys are in town."
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Leave your money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of those. It's we were working with the Hoosier Tree Dog Alliance. I was doing the work there. We ran some of those numbers to show economic impacts and what coon hunting can bring to the state of Indiana, and made those numbers available. We had communications with Chamber of Commerce and those ladies were always
Sure.
here passing out their red
yeah.
poppies. The American Legion was here, or no, they gave you a little embroidered rose.
Yeah,
Remember
exactly.
that?
Yeah, that you could stick on the bill of your
Yeah.
cap or whatever. It had.
Yeah.
It was a sticky on the back.
Right.
type.
I haven't been around enough because we've been here promoting Houndsman XP. Just like you haven't been to the show, I really haven't been around the grounds much either. But so the community recognizes the value here, and a lot of times we talk about economic impacts for industry and other deer hunting sports and different stuff like that. But I don't know that they're, other than when, like the National Wild Turkey Federation comes to Indy once every, 7 or 8 years for their national convention, there isn't anything that brings more revenue consistently to the state of Indiana than this event right here.
I'd say that's true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we brought Autumn Oaks here, we'd been previously we had the homecoming to Indiana for the 25th year, and I guess that would have been like 1984 because it started in 60, and we were up at Jasper, Indiana for a couple of years, and then we went to Logansport for a year or two. I don't remember but we came here to Richmond. It's kind of really a testament to a coon club, really. Of course, the Chamber of Commerce was involved very much from the start. They wanted the event to come. But a local coon club, the Wayne County Coon Hunters, Dick Warville, Reagan Lanter, those guys, they wanted to build a new clubhouse, and so they were visionary. They said, if we can run this kitchen and put this big event on here, we can make some money, which they did, to build our club. And they built a nice facility, and that club has been, very instrumental in the success of this event.
Right.
It just kind of shows, that these clubs that have some vision and some determination, and it takes a heck of a lot of hard work.
Right. Right. So you've got a club that they do all of the legwork, lining up guides, working with satellite clubs, doing all those sorts of things that have to be done in order to make this event happen. So it's a year-long thing for these guys to get ready for this weekend, those club members to get ready for this, and to think about, everybody's pitching in. And then you get here and you go through their kitchen. Yeah. Smoked pork chops.
Oh, man. You cannot come to Autumn Oaks without going through that kitchen line. And they've got that thing right now where it's like a fast food deal. I mean, you can just buzz through there. It's efficient. It wasn't always that way. There were long lines.
Yep.
But if you make a trip to Autumn Oaks and don't have one of those smoked pork chops, man, you missed.
Yeah. Or a piece of a slice of sugar cream pie. An Indiana staple. Sugar cream pie.
And right out the door here from our vendor barns, the ice cream wagon, and that's a big draw here.
Yeah, they sell out every year.
They're cones and
they haven't even opened the canopy yet.
Not yet this morning.
Yeah, once they do, that line will start. It'll start surrounding the building here.
When I was here, and it was my job to do a lot of these, make sure these things happen. There was a guy from up in Michigan, Gary Yocolette. He was the ice cream guy that we gave the I guess what we'd say, the license to sell the ice cream on. And this guy, man, he couldn't believe how much ice cream he sold out here. But, you mentioned earlier about the club and the tremendous network of other clubs in the state of Indiana. Yeah. And I don't know if they send any across the border to Ohio or not.
I've hunted in Ohio before. Yeah. I don't know if they're still sending people to convoy or not. I would assume that they are.
Well, those that are listening that don't have any idea how one of these events work, if you've got an entry of 300 dogs a night, which is probably about what they have, 300 to 400 dogs, and these dogs are each hunted in groups of 4, which we call a cast, there has to be a guide that can take them to an area that they're accustomed to hunting and safely let those dogs compete for that. Is it a 90-minute hunt this year, or is it 2 hours?
I haven't looked at the format.
I don't know, but just imagine, you've got 4 hounds, you've got 4 handlers here that may be from the 4 points of the compass.
That's right.
One guy may be from Missouri, and a guy from Alabama, and one from Michigan, and maybe,
New York, New Hampshire,
wherever.
Maine.
Naturally they have no place to go.
Right.
So it requires a guide, and that's usually a club member from one of these, what we call satellite clubs, So you have this actually a pre-entry through the mail that you have to do in advance, and you get a confirmation back. So then there's an instruction that you have to come onto the fairgrounds and confirm that you're there and you're actually going to hunt. And then at a point in time, they start calling out, what we call calling the cast. And that's quite a production just to watch, and then to have the pick up maps and know where to go. It's a tremendous logistics thing.
Remember back in the day when we used the horse arena out there, and you put signs on each post, and you went and found your post
exactly
to meet your cast,
right?
And then, or your satellite. Where you were headed for a satellite club, and you reported the post, and then the UKC representative would come around and give you a paper map of how to get there.
Well, even before the map age, we used to run them in convoys.
Yes.
That was crazy.
There were some wild stories.
Well, you figure if a club is going to take 15 casts,
right,
that's 60 dogs, right?
And everybody wants to drive.
And every guy's got his own truck.
Right.
So you got 60 trucks that you're going to move out off the fairgrounds.
2 hours away.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to get there.
And you're going to, stop lights. You can imagine that idea.
Yeah.
There was a funny story that surrounded, it wasn't Autumn Oaks, but it was Winter Classic in Albany, Georgia. And we were still in that convoy stage. And there's a big fairgrounds there, the Exchange Club Fairgrounds. And this was one of these deals where we were getting all the trucks lined up. And I can remember we had walkie-talkies, and I'm going from the front of the line, and I've got the scorecard, and we're checking off these guys to make sure everybody's in line.
Right.
We didn't leave anybody behind. And we had a deputy sheriff at the front of the line to go out and pull out into the street, the road, and stop traffic so this train could go.
Yeah.
So I'd gone all the way down this line to the very back, and the idea was we had a walkie-talkie, a CB radio in the back of the line and one up front. So I'm all the way in the back. They're all checked, all ready, go. And
ready, set, go.
And the voice of the lead truck comes back, Steve, we have a problem up here. You need to come up here. So I walk all the way to this long line, all the way to the front. And when I get there, the deputy sheriff's car is sitting there with the light going, getting ready, but he's not going anywhere. And as I walk up, there is this elderly, very well-dressed lady sitting in the back seat of this patrol car. And I walk up to the officer, and I said, what's the problem, sir? He said, this lady says she's going to stop this convoy. If she has to, she's going to lay down in the street to stop the convoy because we're going to be harassing raccoons. And I looked to the lady and I said, lady, you don't understand. This is not a hunt. We have no guns. We intend to kill nothing. It's strictly, pursuit, and look at the coon and record the score. And she immediately went into kind of a frenzy of high-pitched wailing over these raccoons. And the deputy said, don't bother to talk to her. I've already talked to her. I've called in to my watch commander. I'm waiting for his instructions. Well, the instructions came back. If she doesn't get in her Cadillac and go home, bring her downtown. That community understood, that this was an important deal. Well, I found out later on that she was on the county commission or whatever that year. But mysteriously, the next year, she was no longer a member.
There you
but
go.
that was one of the more interesting things with convoys, I thought.
That was funny.
That was a funny story.
Yeah, I think the story that I told around the horse arena was organizing the convoys in that day. And then we did go to paper maps, and now you just confirm your entry, and they tell you what satellite club. So you confirm your entry around 3 o'clock, and then you have, 5 hours to be at your satellite club and be prepared to hunt.
Yeah, and that all came about up at Logansport, Indiana. I remember one morning as we were giving out the awards. Now, what they'll do here, these dogs hunt these 2 nights, and then they come tabulate. And there's a shout-out to the staff at UKC that has to stay up all night long and tabulate all that stuff. And they have a really nice award ceremony on Sunday morning, I think at about 9 o'clock.
Right.
And there's all the trophies. And if you've listeners never been to a major coonhound event and see the quality of the awards, it's pretty amazing.
Right.
And a lot of the major vendors, as you know this stuff, Chris, but, they award things like dog boxes and lights and telemetry, GPS collars and all the things. So there's a big award ceremony there, on Sunday.
Yeah.
But those people at UKC have to have all that ready and prepared. And there's high-scoring breed awards that they have to prepare the list to provide to the breed association so they can check their memberships and make sure these people are eligible. I mean, it's a logistics nightmare if it's not well prepared, but they do a great job.
So probably my fondest memory on the competition side of Autumn Oaks was the 50th, where we had the banner. They had the banner up with Pioneer drum on it.
Yeah.
And I won high scoring plot male that year.
Great.
And Evan Workman with, I believe he was hunting spider at the time, and Johnny was hunting oak.
It's Johnny Hager, right?
Johnny Hager was hunting oak. And so we were always tied anyway, Team Redwood. I wasn't hunting a Redwood dog at the time, but I was hunting Boone. And we lined up with, and anytime you see a Redwood dog win, everybody from Team Redwood gets in the photo. It's kind of a tradition that Team Redwood always carried out. So we had this great, in my opinion, a great photo of the 3 high-scoring plots from the hunt. And 3 high-scoring plots from the hunt, and we got that picture underneath the 50th anniversary banner with drum up on top.
That's cool.
The original winner
for a plot
of Autumn
guy,
Oaks.
man. That's like a Little League baseball team with Babe Ruth's picture, Or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Well, you can hear the buzz of the crowd in here, Chris. I mean, the crowd really picking up here on this Saturday morning, and it's.
It is, and we're going to have to wrap this up because our booths are being flooded here with people.
Exactly.
And we've been having a good conversation here, and this will probably be the first of a series of podcasts that we'll do surrounding this event, Autumn Oaks.
Right, Chris. Well, it's been a good visit this morning, and let's go to work.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right.